Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all enjoying the new season. It is completely different from the previous season, but I can tell you guys already, Clodsire is getting on my nerves a little bit. But today I am going to be sharing with you guys a team that worked really well for me. However, I should point out that these are the first games that I played in the season, so of course they are going to be a little bit easier, and it's still a little bit too early to tell if this team is going to be meta or not. But the team that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is going to be Gastrodon lead with Shadow Jumpluff on the safe swap and Clefable in the back. I hope you guys enjoy the video going on in the background of me trying to scramble to get as much Stardust as I can from the 1-star piece that I used, because unlike everyone else who is super excited for the new season, all I can care about is the fact that I used a star piece and I have to get as much value as I can out of it before I start battling, so I'll just have that running while I talk to you guys about the team. Now the team gets all Bs on PV Poke, so it should be pretty decent versus the meta that we are going to see in the Open Great League. However, according to PV Poke, all of the Pokemon on this team will lose to Talonflame. That's why I have Water Pulse in place of Earth Power on that Gastrodon, but in a lot of situations, the Talonflame has ended up shielding my Water Pulse. I was really hoping they wouldn't see it coming, they would be expecting the Earth Power, but that is why I have the Water Pulse on Gastrodon, even though Earth Power is the recommended move for Gastrodon. Now, the idea behind the team is obviously you have the Gastrodon on the lead to take care of poison types, and then you have 2 Pokemon in the back that are going to be weak to poison types, and you can use the Jumpluff to draw out any poison types your opponent might have. Now, the only issue with this is if you run into a double poison team or a double fire team, which I actually did end up seeing. Hello, algorithm. But yeah, it's a pretty decent team. All the Pokemon on this team have decent bulk, and they are pretty spammy, especially after Gastrodon got that buff to Mud Slap. It now generates more energy, and you will reach those body slams and the water pulses a lot faster. Jumpluff, what I love about Jumpluff is with that Fairy Wind damage, it is going to be able to beat Pokemon like Mandibuzz and Altaria. It was really good against Altaria, but we also have to remember that Altaria got nerfed because it takes longer to get to that Sky Attack. So Jumpluff against Altaria was doing really well. It was also doing pretty well against other dragon types. And of course, Clefable is going to be reaching that Swift in 4 Fairy Winds. I should also point out before I start that the team is ABA weak to grass and poison types. So if you see like a Venusaur, I know we're probably not going to see as many Victory Bells, Shadow Victory Bells, but if we see a Venusaur, I like to swap Clefable into it because it's still going to outpace to the Swifts, and you can probably shield and get the Venusaur low. You might even get it out of the way. I'm not sure. I haven't gone up against a Venusaur yet, but for my first video, I wanted to try a full team of Pokemon that got buffed this season. Now, I could tell you guys that this team is amazing and I got 5 O's and 4 1s with it, but we have to keep in mind it's the beginning of the season. Not everyone we are going up against is going to be at the same skill range. So that's enough rambling from me. Let's get into the battles. As long as we don't see a Talonflame, we should be fine. Up first, we are going to be going up against the Algorithm Doesn't Exist. I guess my opponent saw the water and ground typing and immediately swapped into their superior. I'm going to bring in Jumpluff because I can spam out those aerial aces for super effective damage, and we luck out because it looks like my opponent is not running an aerial ace of their own. They are running Leaf Tornado, and grass type moves are going to be 4 times resisted by Jumpluff's flying and grass typing. So this is amazing for me, but that also means that my Jumpluff is going to be super healthy when I come out of this matchup, and their Talonflame is going to get a lot of energy off my Jumpluff. So this is what I've decided to do. I'm going to leave this matchup with as much energy as I can, and when the Talonflame comes back in, I'm just going to swap into Gastrodon. I have a lot of energy on my Jumpluff. I can probably take care of the Talonflame with the Swifts on my Clefable and the aerial aces on my Jumpluff. I was also considering that my opponent's final Pokemon might be another grass type because of how quickly they swapped into that superior, but it looks like it is going to be a Quagsire, so I'm just going to save both shields for the 2 Pokemon that I have left. I'm going to let my Gastrodon go here. It's done enough. It got the Quagsire really low, and it got a shield from them. Now, I am going to bring in Jumpluff and go for an Aerial Ace to take this Quagsire out. I have enough energy, and I should be able to reach 2 Aerial Aces on this Talonflame. I go for the first one, it goes unshielded, and I can go for a second one here. I'm expecting my opponent to use their final shield. They do, and now I'm going to bring in Clefable. I have 2 shields for Clefable, but I let the first Flame Charge go. This was a little bit risky, but I should be able to go for a Swift here, and I think I might need one more Swift to take this Talonflame out. I'm going to go ahead and shield whatever this is. This is going to be another Flame Charge, and this Incinerate is going to hurt, but it's not going to be enough to take our Clefable out. We reach that Swift, and we take Talonflame out with Clefable and Jumpluff. GG's to our opponent. Our next battle doesn't count because it looks like our opponent has already given up on this season of GBL. They are running 10 CP Pokemon. And the next battle doesn't count either because what is that? That's the thing about saying, oh, this team is really good at like the very beginning of the season. You get a 5-0 with a team and then you're telling everyone, oh, this is amazing. Well, of course you're going to get a 5-0 if you're coming up against opponents who have probably never touched GBL in their entire lives, or they're a 5-year-old playing tap-tap on a phone. So, yeah, that's that's what I have to say on that. But I really shouldn't be complaining because up next, we are going to be going up against a Carbink. At least it is going to be up against her Gastrodon, and Gastrodon will be resisting all the Rock-type moves. It will have to go for Moonblast, however, which is going to hit for neutral damage, and our opponent swaps into a Trevenant. I was a little bit slow on the swap because I'm still getting used to the team, but I bring in my Jumpluff, and now my opponent actually goes for a Seed Bomb bait, and I shield it. They take a shield from us. Really well played to my opponent. Gonna go for an Aerial Ace. They don't shield the second one, but they survive, and they are gonna be able to hit us with a Shadow Ball. But I know that my Jumpluff should be able to survive, so I let it go, and my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be Talonflame. Okay, so what do? Do I bring the Gastrodon in against the Talonflame, or do I bring Clefable? I'm going to save Clefable for the Carbink, and I'm just going to bring in Gastrodon. I was really hoping they wouldn't call the Water Pulse, but they went ahead and they shielded it. I'm still able to reach another Water Pulse, which is really good. And this Moonblast is really going to hurt my Gastrodon, so I swap out immediately into my Clefable so that I don't get farmed down. I just have to go for a Moonblast here, and I think a couple more Fairy Winds. Nope, the Moonblast is enough to take their Carbink out, and we're going to take that win. So, a kind of tricky team to deal with because they also had a Talonflame in the back. Really surprising that I'm seeing multiple Talonflames in my first set algorithm. But moving on to the next battle, we're going to see a Lickitung on the lead, which is really bad for Gastrodon, so I bring in my Jumpluff. Now, Body Slam was nerfed, so these Body Slams should be doing a lot less damage, and Jumpluff is really bulky, so it should be able to take them like a champ. I'm going to go for an Energy Ball, and we actually get a shield out of them and a defense drop, which is really nice for me. I'm going to let the next Body Slam go as well and go for another Energy Ball. This should hurt the Lickitung, but they swap out at this point into a Sableye, and I'm able to reach a third Energy Ball. We take their final shield, and then I can swap into my Clefable and go for a Moonblast up against a Sableye. I'm just going to shield whatever this is. It is the return. I have 2 shields left. Why not? Good thing we shielded, and I'm going to go for a Moonblast, but only after I farm up some energy. And I go for a Swift here up against the Lickitung, but unfortunately it survives. Swift doesn't do that much damage, so there's that. I have to take a Body Slam now, but like I said, Body Slam was nerfed, so it doesn't do that much damage. And my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Medicham, so GG's to our opponent. That is going to be a 5-0 in the first set, but I mean, it doesn't really count. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a taste of my own medicine in the next set because our opponents are going to get a lot tougher, and I say that as I'm coming up against someone who is AFK. So unfortunate for my opponent, perhaps they lagged out, but yeah. But in the next match, our opponent has reached Legend before, so it is going to be a lot tougher for me. Should also say that I misplayed this so badly because it was my first few games, and I was still getting used to the meta, I was still getting used to the team, and in some cases, I felt like I had no idea what was going on, and I felt like I was completely new to GBL, but I mess up so badly in this game. I wouldn't say I mess up. I would say I let some moves go just to see how much damage those moves did. I'll get to it when I get to it, but our opponent leads Greninja. Greninja is really good in this season, by the way. And I immediately safe swap into my Jumpluff. My opponent brings out a Clodsire. We manage to take a shield from them at least, so I should be in a good position, right? Well, they bring that Greninja back in, and I swap into my Clefable. Their final Pokemon is going to be a Marowak, a Shadow Marowak. And I let the Bone Club go because I want to see how much damage it does, and for some reason I don't tap the Swift here, so I have to take another Bone Club from this Marowak. I have no idea what I was doing in this game. I played like an absolute noob, and I end up just basically forfeiting this game with 2 shields. So yeah, really well played to myself. I am being sarcastic if you haven't picked up on my tone, but that was a terrible match for me. Moving on to the next game, we are going to be up against another Shadow Kanto Marowak, and our opponent swaps into a Shadow Machamp. Really unfortunate for them that I have Clefable in the back. I'm going to bring it in. We take that cross chop. It hurts because it's Shadow, but I go for a Swift, and of course, Swift's damage is underwhelming, so it's not going to be enough to take the Machamp out, but it is going to put them in farm down range, and then my opponent just top lefts. So GG's to our opponent, but we're not going to know what they had in the back. On to the next battle, we're going to see a Tsarina on the lead, and I honestly don't know what this thing has access to. I know that it has access to a fighting type move that it got on Community Day, so I just assumed that that's what my opponent was running, and I let this go, and it ends up being Triple Axle, which is double super effective against Jumpluff, and it hurts. I go for another Aerial Ace. At least I'm able to take their shields from them. My opponent actually has a Clodsire in the back. For some reason, they didn't bring it in when they saw the Jumpluff, but I guess they knew they had an Ice-type move on their Tsarina, so they went for that instead. Now I'm just going to bring in Gastrodon up against this Clodsire, and I went ahead and I shielded the Earthquake to keep my Gastrodon healthy. Go for a Water Pulse here. It's enough to take them out. I still have a shield left, and I insta-swap into my Clefable. My opponent's final Pokemon is going to be another Poison type, so I have to watch out for that Sludge Bomb, but my opponent only did 4 Poison Jabs, so this is an Aqua Tail. I let it go, and I managed to farm the Drapion down and have enough energy for a Moonblast for Tsarina, and this is going to be enough to take them out. And we somehow managed to get a win against a Grass Double Poison team. GG's to our opponent. Our next opponent is also going to be someone who has reached Legend in the past, but unfortunate for them, it looks like we are going to RPS them. They lead a Shadow Alolan Marowak into our Gastrodon, and then they say swap Greninja. I bring in Clefable, although in hindsight, I think Jumpluff might have been a much better safe swap, or sorry, not safe swap, a much better swap into Greninja, especially since the Hydro Cannons hurt so much and Jumpluff is going to be resisting them, so the Greninja will have to go for Night Slash against Jumpluff. But our opponent shields 2 Swifts, and we managed to get to a third as well. It's enough to take the Greninja out, and then they go ahead and they top left. And that is going to be a 4-1, but another 4-1 that doesn't really count because the first match we played, we went up against someone who was AFK or lagged out. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to see how good Jumpluff is going to be up against an Altaria because our opponent leads Altaria. Of course, I am going to swap out into my Jumpluff, and they stay in. Those Fairy Winds are absolutely chunking, and I'm going to start spamming out those Aerial Aces. And this Altaria is going to take forever to get to a Sky Attack, so I'm just going to shield once, and I should be able to get to 2 more moves here. I'm expecting this next one to potentially take a shield from my opponent. They do go ahead and they shield it, and then I reach another Aerial Ace. Is it going to be enough to take the Altaria out, though? It's not quite enough. They live with 1 HP. They were 1 Fairy Wind off, but then they save it and they swap out into a Jellicent, another Pokemon that got nerfed in this season, and I am going to go ahead and shield here because I'm at the Energy Ball and they have no shields left, so I should be able to land this. I don't think it quite KOs. They do live with very little HP, and they are going to be able to reach another Surf to take our Jumpluff out. But that's not going to matter because they have no shields left. I can come in with Clefable, farm them down, and have energy for the next Pokemon that comes in. I had a feeling my opponent might try to make a catch there, so I didn't go for a move quite yet. I managed to land a Moonblast on their Diggersby, and their Diggersby is also running Mudshot, which is another move that got nerfed. I really wonder if they had read the move updates for the season, but I feel so bad for the players that don't recognize that their Pokemon got nerfed and they continue to use them. They don't switch up their strategy, so that's really unfortunate. I wish Niantic would make more effort to get the players informed so they understand what's going on. But anyways, moving on to the next battle, we're going to see a Gastrodon mirror match. Now, I'm going to build up to a potential Earth Power or Water Pulse and then bait with Body Slam, but my opponent goes straight Body Slam, so I know I can no-shield this. Now I can bait, I can take a shield from my opponent, and we are going to have to take another Body Slam from them here, but I have to swap out into one of my back Pokemon because if they have a Poison type in the back, which I was expecting them to have a Poison type in the back because they're running that Gastrodon, which is going to be very weak to Grass types, then I can draw it out with the Jumpluff, but my opponent has an Arctibax in the back. I go for 2 Aerial Aces, and we almost managed to take them out, but I am going to have to shield an Avalanche from them, and their final Pokemon is an Alolan Sandslash, Shadow Alolan Sandslash, running Powder Snow, so I'm curious why my opponent didn't bring this in before they brought in the Arctibax. It's a very strange that they did that. But I bring in Gastrodon, I managed to take their final shield from them. I'm going to go ahead and shield this Drill Run, and I should be able to reach a move against this Alolan Sandslash, but my opponent is going to swap out here back into their Gastrodon. I go for a Moonblast to take it out. I don't want to take any moves from this Gastrodon, and I should be able to reach a Swift before they reach an Ice Punch. But of course, it's not going to be enough to take them out. It's resisted, and also Swift doesn't do that much damage. So they live, they're able to reach that Ice Punch, but Jumpluff can come in, go for a Fairy Wind, take the Alolan Sandslash out, and we're going to take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Shadow Quagsire, and Quagsire is one of those one-shot users that is still pretty decent even after the nerf. Before it could reach Aqua Tail in 4 Mudshots, now it is going to get to that first Aqua Tail in 5 Mudshots and then the second one in 4. So it's still okay. Stone Edge as well, it gets to the first one, or it used to get to the first one in 7 and the second one in 6. Now it's just 7, 7, 7. But it's still really good, especially against Clodsire. Now, I take an Aqua Tail on my Gastrodon, it hurts of course, and then I swap into my Jumpluff. My opponent is staying in. They manage to bait us with an Aqua Tail, but then they go for a Stone Edge, and I end up using both of my shields, and then they swap into a Charge-a-Bug, but at this point my switch timer is up, so I am going to bring in my Gastrodon up against the Charge-a-Bug, and I go for a Water Pulse, and then I also manage to reach a Body Slam. We take it out, and my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be Feraligatr. I have energy on my Jumpluff, so I am going to throw that Energy Ball right before my opponent can reach a move, and then I can make it to an Aerial Ace against the Quagsire. It should be enough to KO. It is, and we take that win. GG's to our opponent. I do have more battles recorded, but I'm going to cut it short here because I want to cover other teams. But I have one more battle I wanted to share with you guys because I thought this one was so funny. So I'm going to slow it down a bit. This is from the next set, but we get a really nice lead of Empoleon into her Gastrodon, and then they swap into a Goodra, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Here you go, Goodra, here's a Clefable, and whatever this is just an Aqua Tail. It's not going to hurt that much, right? You must be really proud of that one, aren't you, opponents? Anyways, I think we are done here. That is enough GBL for now. Otherwise, I'm going to lose my sanity because I just got Sledge Waved by a Goodra. Oh my god. Okay, anyways, that is going to bring us to the end of our video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like my content, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like. It helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in the next video, which should be out hopefully soon because we have a lot of Pokemon to cover. Bye bye!